Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Tumlin. I'm the Executive Director of the SFMTA, and welcome to the new Van Ness Avenue. This has been a very long time in coming, but I am so proud of the result that all of my teams have produced. The new Van Ness Avenue is a part of our efforts to reimagine San Francisco streets, to rethink our streets to allow them to move more people as the city grows, and to prioritize the people with the fewest mobility choices. And that is what we're steadily delivering all over San Francisco. So this project includes some obvious components like the bright red new transit-only lanes that are built of 2 feet thick of red concrete that's red all the way through. It includes rebuilding all of the above-ground infrastructure, everything from the overhead power lines to the traffic lights. It includes 375 new trees and 4,000 drought-resistant new shrubs. But the biggest part of the project is actually the underground work. So we rebuilt the street from building face to building face, but we also dug up and unsnarled 150 years worth of crazy utilities, including 10,000 feet of communication fiber optic lines, 18,000 feet of sewer pipes, including 19th century brick sewers, 25,000 feet of water pipes, and 12,000 feet of duct banks to power our buses and traffic signals. Rebuilding all these utilities and strengthening them for earthquake resistance means that we will not have to do that again for another 150 years, and I am so glad of that part of the project. This project was the result. Okay. We could not have done this project without a very, very large team. So I'm going to go through very quickly and thank some of our partners, and I will miss some. So thankful to the Federal Transit Administration for funding the project, for Caltrans, who had the audacity to reimagine a state highway to prioritize transit and pedestrians. To the San Francisco County Transportation Authority, who is our funding and planning partner, to Mayor London Breed and the Board of Supervisors, who have prioritized this project again and again for over a decade, to the Planning Department, who helped us reimagine the space, to the Public Works Department, the Public Utilities Commission, who helped us with the underground stuff, the Arts Commission, that helped us choose the art and deal with many of the design aspects of the project, to the Arts Commission, which I just thanked, to the City Attorney's Office, to the Historic Preservation Commission, particularly here in the Civic Center area, to the Mayor's Office of Economic and Workforce Development, to the Mayor's Office on Disability, to the Van Ness BRT Community Advisory Committee, and the Van Ness Business Advisory Committee. Thank you to all of those folks. But we also owe a very, very strong debt of gratitude to the folks who live and work along this corridor. Digging up this entire street to replace 150 years worth of utilities resulted in some major disruption and impacts as a result of the construction. And I really want to extend my gratitude and sincere apologies to all of the business owners and residents along this corridor. Thank you for your patience. You put up with years of noisy and disruptive work at all hours of day and night. We have learned a lot of lessons from this project, and we're already applying those lessons to other projects like our work on Geary and Terraval, which are on time and on budget, in part because of the things that we learned about this project. So I also want to thank, in addition to the residents and business owners for their patience, I really, really need to thank the people who actually did the real work of making this project happen. So here at the SFMTA, I specifically want to call out Peter Gabancho, Lance Jackson, Hubert Wong, Kanu Balan, Matt Lee, Prester Wilson, Kate McCarthy, Nahama Rogozan, and John Gravener for their work, along with hundreds and hundreds of other people, but particularly those people who have spent the last decade making this happen. From the San Francisco County Transportation Authority, I want to thank Tilly Chang and Bob Masis, who is up from Southern California for the ribbon cutting. And then I particularly want to thank Walsh Construction and all of their technical subcontractors for being out here every day delivering this work, including doing extraordinary things like the ballet dance of rebuilding the Mission and South Van Ness intersection. So, thank you to all of those people for really making this happen. So, it's very, very exciting to finally be here. This is a very, very big year for the SFMTA. We completed the first phase of the Geary Rapid Project earlier this year. We completed the first phase of rebuilding Taraval and the El Taraval earlier this year. And indeed, we're going to open the Central Subway later this year in the fall. And I'm so happy to be here today, finally opening the Van Ness Bus Rapid Transit Project. So, with no further ado, may I introduce the Mayor of San Francisco, London Breed.
Wow. What a big deal in San Francisco today. Thank you so much, Jeff, and thank you. Let's give another round of applause to the great San Francisco Symphony for that beautiful rendition of I Left My Heart in San Francisco. Yes, our hearts are in San Francisco today, and today, because of that, we are rolling out the red carpet. No, this is not an April Fool's joke. This is finally done because it has been a long time coming. The people of San Francisco, the voters of San Francisco, approved this back in 2003. And the work began to look at how we were going to reimagine what Van Ness Boulevard would be in order to provide efficient transit and safety and all the things that we need. When I think back to the history of Van Ness Boulevard and what it represented after the 1906 earthquake, when I used to walk up and down these streets and catch the 49 and 47 to Galileo High School, not too long ago as a youngster, it was Auto Row. This city, after the Golden Gate Bridge and Gary Boulevard and other places, this city was built mostly to accommodate vehicles. And over the years, we've seen a significant shift. People using various modes of transportation, but also because we are a city who prides ourselves on making sure we are good stewards of the environment, we notice something. 47% of greenhouse gas emissions happen in this city because of vehicles. And we need to make changes. We need to make our public transportation system more efficient. We need to make sure that we improve our infrastructure so that different modes of transportation can move around San Francisco in a safe and an efficient manner, and at the same time, having positive impacts on the environment. Yes, this project took a very long time, starting when I was on the Board of Supervisors in 2016, but you know how that is for bureaucratic. Even Scott Wiener was on the Board of Supervisors. Bureaucratic years take forever in this city. But guess what? I feel like we're opening it right on time after dealing with 2 years of a global pandemic that kept us away from one another, that kept us from seeing one another's faces. So please don't be offended if I don't recognize you anymore. It's been 2 years. And as we began to reemerge, I can't help but think about how strong and amazing this city is. We've endured so many challenges in our city's history. But what's so great about San Francisco is when we are able to complete projects like this, we celebrate, but we also understand the value of what this will mean for people to get around this city, for the commuters that come all over the Bay Area, Golden Gate Regional, and the folks who catch Muni, and the kids who pretend to try to get on time to school at Galileo. This is going to be a meaningful change, reducing the travel time by 30%, making public transportation more attractive to people. That's our goal in all these various improvement projects. So as we start to reopen, we have to make sure that we can get people around efficiently and safely. And I am so happy that this is finally getting done, Joe Batts, because now I can catch the 49 to the House of Prime Rib and get there in a timely manner. Now we can make sure that we support all these great businesses, many that we know we lost, not just because of the pandemic, but because of this project. Yes, the city came together and provided millions of dollars for grants for small businesses, but it clearly was not enough. And so now the real work begins. Using this system, enjoying the public art, commuting back and forth to wherever we need to go, and supporting the businesses along Van Ness. But I want to say to the kids of Galileo, do not get off before you get to school, because we need you to make it to school on time. We don't want this transit system to be a reason that you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I am so happy to be here today, and I gotta say, this took regional, state, federal, local, county transportation authorities, so many people, the workers, the people who live along this area and work along this area and have businesses along this area. We owe you a debt of gratitude for what you've endured during this time. And I think this is going to be really a shining example of San Francisco and our resilience after dealing with a very challenging couple of years. We're coming back stronger and better than ever, and we are going to continue to host the cleanest and the greenest fleet and move San Francisco in a direction where we meet our climate goals and we make sure that we provide transportation that makes this the priority in San Francisco, using public transportation as the priority in San Francisco to get around because it is more efficient than any other mode. Thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate everyone that's participated in this project.
Thank you, Mayor London Breed. Fun fact, in 2001, I was quoted by San Francisco columnist John King in a newspaper story in the Chronicle talking about Van Ness Bus Rapid Transit. And the mayor at the time, upon reading this article, tried to fire me on the radio. Thank you, Mayor London Breed, for your strong support of public transit in San Francisco. Meanwhile, it is my honor to introduce our next speaker, whose recent legislation would have shaved over a year off of our Van Ness project schedule. I am so grateful for the strong public transit support of our state senator, Scott Wiener. Scott?
Thank you, Jeff. I am so freaking excited right now. I can't even describe it. I'm excited because this is done and happening. But you know, as a 25-year Muni rider, I've seen the good, the bad, and occasionally the ugly. I love the subway, I love trains, but in my heart, I am a bus person. And buses, you know, get really neglected a lot of times. It's the large majority of transit here in San Francisco, vast majority around the country, it's buses. And we need to find ways to make buses faster, more efficient, and more attractive for people so we can actually give people options other than driving. And people shouldn't have to live by a subway line to be able to use transit. They should be able to use transit anywhere. And buses are the way that we do that, and bus rapid transit is the way that we do that. And so this is just incredibly exciting. And when you look at the future of San Francisco and frankly the Bay Area, we need, and I know it's going to be shocking to hear me say this of all people, we need a lot more housing. We need to put a lot more housing here in San Francisco so that people can afford to live here. But paired with that enormous amount of additional housing, we have to have more and more and better and more efficient public transportation to support it. Because if it's just a bunch more cars, the geometry doesn't work. There's not enough street space, there's not enough parking. So we need that housing and we need the buses and we need to put it all together to make this the most sustainable and amazing city in the world. It already is, but let's go even above and beyond that. This has been a real team effort when you look at the work that's being done here in Van Ness and other amazing transit projects in the city. And at this, I had the honor of chairing our county transportation authority, and we worked really hard with the mayor, with then Supervisor Breed, to move this forward. But we also work at the state level, and I want to really thank and acknowledge our entire current and former state legislative delegation, our city attorney, David Chu, who we really miss in the legislature. Let's hear it for Mr. Chu, who, when he was on the Board of Supervisors, his district was right along Van Ness, and he helped guide this along. And then working with also Assemblymember Phil Ting, the chair of the Assembly Budget Committee, we've worked really hard to try to get more transit resources into San Francisco. And it's a fight because some of our colleagues are in areas that don't have a lot of transit, but we're getting more and more momentum to have the state be a better partner to counties and cities to make sure that we're adding more transit. So this is amazing. Congratulations to everyone. We learned a lot from this project. It will not take this long in the future. We're working, as Jeff mentioned, on legislation to dramatically streamline the approval of bus rapid transit and light rail and bike and pedestrian projects. Sustainable transportation is the future. Let's get more of it. Let's get it done faster. And congratulations, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Wiener. One of the many places that the Van Ness Busway will take you to is the San Francisco Opera. And so I am very pleased to introduce Elisa Sunshine and Andrew King from the San Francisco Opera. Brava. Over 40% of California's greenhouse gas emissions come from the transport sector, and of that, the vast majority is personal driving. And in addition, here in California, we're no longer demolishing low-income neighborhoods in order to widen highways, and yet the state is growing. We are growing jobs, we're adding people. California is still a land of opportunity. And so I am utterly delighted to watch new leadership at the State Department of Transportation who is working to reimagine the state highway system in order to move more people rather than just moving more cars, and to help the state achieve its greenhouse gas emissions goals. So I am very honored to introduce the California Secretary of Transportation, Tokes Omashakin.
Thanks for the setup, Director Tomlin, to have me come after that performance. How in the world do you top that? So when you schedule an event on April 1st, and it has the history that this project has, immediately what comes to mind is this actually real? Is this actually going to happen? And without a doubt, everybody can see today, with the fortitude and the leadership of Director Tomlin, Mayor Breed, Director Chang, many folks in the city, it is real. It is happening right here. And so kudos to everybody who's worked hard to make this day happen. So again, I'm Tokes Omashakin, Secretary of Transportation for the state. I'm here on behalf of Governor Newsom. The governor would love to have been here. He's a big fan of transportation, but other things pulled him away this particular morning. So when I think about a project like this Van Ness BRT project, three E's come to mind. Number one, efficient. We know BRT projects, and this particular project, Mayor Breed mentioned it before, we know what it's going to mean as far as reduction in travel time throughout downtown San Francisco and the region. We know it's going to result in that. So efficiency is a big part of what we're going to gain from this. Number two, the environmental benefits. Environmental benefits are going to be huge. The fact that, again, more than 40%, actually statewide, it's nearly 50% of greenhouse gas emissions come from transportation. Transportation is the largest, the biggest culprit of our environmental challenges in this state. And projects like this will improve that. It definitely will improve that. It will address it. And finally, third E, equitable. Equitable. The equitable outcomes from this. We know how much, Senator Wiener mentioned it before, how much of a challenge it is to afford to live in this state, but in particular within the Bay Area. The fact that we're coming up with solutions like this that are going to make it more costly, less costly, I should say, more equitable for people to be able to move about is exactly the direction that we need to go. So kudos and congratulations to a lot of people who've had the vision for many years, but for the fortitude of the city leadership to actually be able to deliver this project today. Specifically, again, I want to thank FTA for their contributions, their support. Our Caltrans team, I see Ray from FTA here. Thanks, Ray, for you and your team's leadership. Our Caltrans team, several people. Caltrans, if you could wave, they're over here somewhere. Yeah, Team Caltrans. In particular, Dina El Tawanzi, our district director, thank you for your leadership. City and county staff, Director Tomlin staff, kudos, and Mayor Breed, again, congratulations on an amazing day like today as you launch this incredible project. Thank you again for having me here today. Thank you very much.
Completing a project of this magnitude also requires strong and enduring policymaker support. So I am very pleased to introduce next the chair of the San Francisco County Transportation Commission and member of the Board of Supervisors, Raphael Mandelman.
Jeff Tumlin, you got it done. You and your team, congratulations. But you know who really got it done? The folks who actually built this project, the building and construction trade workers, showing that economic resilience and recovery, sustainable infrastructure, and good union jobs go hand in hand. So the project took too long. We all know that. There are certainly lessons to be learned, mistakes not to be repeated. But this project will surely make a difference in the lives of San Franciscans every day as transit riders whiz past cars stuck in traffic, carrying workers, students, seniors, tourists, and anyone wise enough to choose transit first. This project will make a difference for our climate and for our quality of life, and I am, like all of the speakers, so excited about that. Its many creative design features have established new standards for BRT facilities locally and at the state level, with Caltrans developing new guidelines for sustainable transportation projects on Main Street state routes. The Transportation Authority is proud to have helped lay the groundwork for this day by leading the planning and environmental review phases of the project, as well as providing nearly $45 million to support every phase of the project from planning to construction. These funds were from the Transportation Authority's half-cent sales tax, Proposition K, which included over $100 million for BRT and other muni reliability projects when it passed in 2003. As we look ahead to a renewal of this critical transportation funding source in November, I want to also thank San Francisco voters for their continued support of transit-first investments like this one. Give it up for the voters. In the case of the Ness Improvement Project, this investment paid off multifold. Local sales tax and city funds leveraged over $120 million in state and federal funds to support this project. So we want to thank our friends at the FTA, including Region 9 Administrator Ray Tellis and his team led by Ed Carranza for FTA's funding support, and at Caltrans led by District 4 Director Dina El Tawanzi with project lead Nidal Taquan for their partnership over the years of this project. Finally, I do want to recognize our own Transportation Authority staff, who were instrumental to the project development phase of the project, with our leader, Tilly Chang, and our Deputy Director of Planning, Rachel Hyatt, who managed the early planning and environmental work through the approval stage, and our Deputy for Policy and Programming, Anna Lafort, whose funding team supported TA grant making for each stage of the project. And I want to thank Michael Schwartz, who was the project manager for the EIR under Rachel, and I believe flew in from North Carolina to be here with us today. Now that is love. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge my colleagues on the Transportation Authority Board who made it out here this morning. Catherine Stephanie, Commissioner Stephanie, Commissioner Myrna Melgar, Commissioner Asha Safai, Commissioner Matt Haney. Give it up for my colleagues. So with that, congratulations. Thank you, everyone. San Francisco's coming back on transit.
As we've already mentioned, this project took way too long, and it also required digging up the entire street from curb to curb in order to unsnarl and replace a mess of utilities under the street. We are so grateful to the residents and business owners of the corridor for their patience, and I am therefore very pleased to introduce our final speaker, one of our favorite business owners in the corridor, Joseph Betts, who is the owner and manager of the House of Prime Rib. Mr. Betts, please join us.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you, Commissioner Tomlin, for inviting me. You know, there's not much to say what is already said. However, I'd like to tell you my point of view. Yes, it was difficult. However, there's two people I have to especially thank, and there's Katie McCarthy from the city. She informed me what was going on. We had a meeting already before it started. And during the construction, she always informed me if I called, the answer was right away. And this way, we could plan, we were not blindsided. Another one who I really appreciate the work with is David Costello. He was the foreman from the Welsh program, and the construction really worked with us. We never had really an equipment in front of us, so we always had the great visibility towards the Van Ness Street. And again, a lot of things have been said already, I don't want to repeat, but there's one thing I like to point out. There's an old saying, you forget the price, but you do not forget the result. And the result is beautiful. When you look up the Van Ness, the trees in the middle, the trees on the sidewalk, the right striping in the middle, it looks beautiful. Thank you what you have accomplished. Thank you.
So thank you all, and I also want to thank a few additional people for their strong support throughout this project. City Attorney David Chu, Assessor Joaquin Torres, Dennis Herrera, the PUC, Jose Cisneros, Treasurer, Ralph Remington from the Arts Commission, and our entire SFMTA board, almost all of whom are here, Manny Yakudiel, Sharon Lai, Stephanie Kahina, Fiona Hinsey, Steve Heminger, who else am I missing? Chair Borden, thank you. Anyone else that I'm missing? Anyone else I need to thank? There are so many people we need to thank who have made this phenomenal project finally happen. All right. Thank you to all of you. Now, who wants to cut a ribbon so that we can actually start service on this corridor and get on a bus and ride to Galileo High School with us? One thing that I do want to remind everyone that if you are getting on the bus, which is going to start running in about 5 minutes, please do wear your mask. We're going all the way to Galileo High School where there'll be some additional festivities. Thank you all for coming out. Let's get on the bus.
Well, we've waited long enough. Everybody join us.